election, municipal election in 2 weeks on April 7th here. You can vote any time up to that point. Election, the doors or the election stops at 7 p.m. that night. The net's in charge of making sure all the ballots are voted or counted, that I should say. We changed years ago to mail-in ballot, and but you can still drop your ballot off here with the net if you like to. I reached out. Well, let me back up first. The 5 candidates here are on the ballot. We have one more that's on the ballot that Adrian will explain that has withdrawn, so she can explain that to you here in just a minute. Adrian Sandoval, I've invited her to be our moderator tonight. In years past, we had the League of Women Voters. They weren't available tonight, but Adrian is more than qualified to help out. She's former mayor, trustee, and current field rep for Congressman Gabe Evans, District 6? 8, sorry, District 8. I should know that. Why did they told the first cheered back?
I would have been the only one in the front row.
But my job is to welcome you tonight. I want to turn over to Adrian to lead the way. Okay, all right.
Thank you guys for coming out tonight. And thanks for asking me to be a part of this. So as Mr. Rankin said, we have one candidate for mayor, probably Mike Halper. He's running unopposed, yep. And we have 4 candidates here that are running for trustee. There are 3 seats available. You'll notice that the names on your ballot include Rose. Rose withdrew her name, so please do not vote for her because it won't count. It won't invalidate your ballot, but you could vote for your favorite 3, and if you vote for her, you're losing a vote. Let's see. So we'll start out with introducing everybody. And I'm not going to put a time limit on this because there's no politicians here. We're all just looking to serve a little town here. But I'm not afraid to shut you down too if you're taking forever. So we can just start from this end.
Okay. Hi, my name is Missy Clark. Actually, birth name is Melissa, but nobody knows me by that, including me. I go by Missy. I've called Platteville home now for almost 16 years. Absolutely love this little town. And I just think it's time to try and help be a voice in the community, be able to help make the decisions that happen and continue to get the town involved and more people know what's going on besides just the social media part of it.
Thank you, Missy.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Holt Morris, and I appreciate everybody taking their time and coming out here and listening to us. I've been here since 1987. I've raised my son here. He graduated from Gilchrist. I've been on the board off and on since 2012. If elected, along with the board, we will focus on 3 things. We're transparency. We've always been transparent through our meetings. We're going to continue to be transparent. Also focus on the budget. Right now, we're in the black, so I think we're budgeting the town pretty good. I'd also like to see positive change for small businesses here in town. We need to bring businesses here. We just found out that the community bank is going to be closing down. It's really going to be devastating to our town. So we really need to focus on small businesses. Thank you.
Michael Kalper. Been mayor for the last 2 years. I was originally mayor back in 1997. I know I don't look that old, but I was. I've served several terms on the board. I'd have to have it down, look it up. I don't know how many years I've been on the board. I love Platteville. I've been involved in the community ever since I moved here over 30 years ago. Right now we got a very good town council, and the people that come in, I know they're going to do an awesome job. Our town has always been focused on being a small community with people who take care of each other. I know a lot of you out there. I've known you, well, since I was just a just a young mayor. I really appreciate y'all coming out here. I like to see this kind of activity, this kind of concern from citizens. I'd love to see more of you come to our meetings. I think the input from the town is very important. You live here. You all love this town too. And our town manager's done an awesome job. Our employees here, they care, they do an awesome job. But the input from the people in the town is very important. Don't hesitate to come here. We will always listen to what you have to say. And thank you for coming tonight.
Wow, I feel a little bit. Melissa Shambo, current board member, seeking reelection, was appointed last time, so this running is kind of new to me. I was born and raised in Platteville, lived here majority of my life. My parents did take us to town, and when it was time for me to have a family, brought my kids back here because I love Platteville, liked it, it's small town feel, and it just feels like a much better place to raise my family. My husband and I have raised 2 kids in this community. I've given back to the community and spent lots of time in the community. I was a youth sports coach for over 10 years between the rec department and the middle school. And really through all of that process, it taught me the value of teamwork, fairness, preparation, accountability. Those are principles that I carry with me when we're making decisions and thinking things through for the town and through the board. Professionally, I do work as a software quality engineer. So again, that attention to detail, getting things done right, really, really important. And, you know, being thoughtful and transparent and making decisions based on fact is something that I definitely do when I'm looking at decisions for the board. We have an absolutely wonderful wealth of knowledge of years and experience on our board with some of our members who have a lot of knowledge of town and a lot of background. And, you know, but I also feel it's really important to know that we do have a lot of younger families in town and to have a younger voice on the board that can, you know, kind of connect with that side of town and that ground group of people. And, you know, I do believe in responsible growth. I want to see our town thrive, attract opportunity, and strengthen our local economy, also while preserving our small town feel and character.
All right, my name's Tom Schneider. I guess I'm nowhere near as prepared as everybody else here was. I just wanted to talk just a little bit. I'm raising a young family here. I have 2 girls that go to elementary school. Family in the past few years has become pretty involved in town and some things. We do a lot with the youth sports all through summer. Wife coaches 2 or 3 sports every year for both of the girls. We've lived in town for 12 years, kind of been an anonymous group until, well, just recently when our kids have got school age. It's kind of been a driver for us getting involved and wanting to be part of the community. I'm a diesel technician by trade, but my primary purpose and whatever in my day-to-day right now is raising my family. And I'd like to become a part of this board to keep, like Melissa said, and a younger voice, a voice that's actually currently raising a family. I love how much the seniors are involved in this town. I think that's phenomenal. I love it. It's great. But I'd like to see a little more involvement with family raising age as well. Like to see growth in town, both residential and business. Everybody in town would like to see growth of business, and I'd like to help see what we can do to facilitate that. And yeah, that's kind of why I'm here. Give back and hopefully be a voice in between that we may or may not need. Thank you.
So thank you, guys. We'll ask questions. We've got several options. I've got cards in the back here. You can fill out a card and hand it to me and I can ask it. Or you can raise your hand and I'll let you ask them the question. Or I have a list of questions too. So we have plenty of questions to go around. Does anybody want to start us off? Yes, sir.
I'm Steve Nelson. I'm on the board now. I'm gonna put him on. Keeping in mind that the primary duty of the Board of Trustees is budgetary and finances, what would you do differently than boards in the past? And I don't care who addresses it first, but I'd like to have everybody do that.
Good question.
I'd get a good one.
What would we do differently than what we're doing now?
Or concur with what's been done in the past.
I would concur. I mean, we're doing well financially as a town. We do need to be careful in spending. It's just because you have money in the bank doesn't mean we need to spend it. We need to protect the current citizens of Platteville and welcome new citizens in Platteville. But keeping our financial responsibility in order is absolutely a must.
Well, since I'm on the board currently and I know our finances and I know how we spend the money, I think we're doing great. I think we're doing fine. I mean, we're in the black and not very many small towns can say they're in the black. So I would just encourage us to, keep with the budget. I've always been a stickler with the budget, stay with the budget unless there was an emergency happen and you have to spend the money. But, and that happens, you know, but, yeah, I think, our current board right now is doing very well with the budget. Thank you.
I've got some history. I can speak to when I first became mayor. Our board was in disarray when I came into the mayor position. That's kind of how I ended up mayor of the town. I showed up at answering an ad in the local paper saying they wanted trustees. So I thought, well, I'll put my name forward. So I showed up and I didn't realize the problems that the town had at the time. I was walking into it blind. I told them about myself, told them I'd be a good trustee. And I think it was the town attorney spoke up and asked me if I'd consider being the mayor. And I said, sure. So I came to be a trustee. I ended up being the mayor that night. Went home and told my wife. She said, did you get on? Are you a trustee? I said, no, honey, I'm the mayor. She didn't believe me for a while, but finally. But like I said, it was in disarray. The board and the people on the board were getting too involved. They were stepping above and beyond what they were supposed to do. We have a town manager system. And as a board member, you have to remember that you are the board. You direct the finances, you direct the town manager, you give him your input, and he runs the personnel. That was the big problem at the time. The board members were trying to dictate from their position. Board members need to understand their position, and all of the past problems that we've had with town boards and mayors in this town are they did not understand their role. They thought that they could meddle in personnel issues. They could dictate to the manager. Some mayors wanted to do away with the manager and become dictators of the town. But those are the problems we've seen. There hasn't been reckless spending in this town that I can point to at any point. I know when I was mayor, we didn't have any money to spend, so it didn't matter. But now we do have a good budget. We do have, a good reserve. And as a mayor and as board members, they need to understand what expenses the town can afford. They need to understand that they need to keep the town in good fiscal position and not spend recklessly, not necessarily act on their preference. They need to act on what they believe is best for the town and best for the people in the town. And when they get input from the people of the town, they need to listen. So that's my spiel.
Yeah, I can kind of concur with what everybody else has said. Like they said, the town is currently in the black. I feel like we have some really healthy conversations and debate, being very mindful and very respectful of things that we should or shouldn't be spending on. And even when we disagree, and even if the outcome isn't what we think it should be, we all still trust and respect each other, that we're all just trying to do our best for the town. I have no problem saying my side of things if I feel like we're going too far one way or the other and leaning into something that we maybe shouldn't be spending money on because it may not be a benefit for the town. And I think it's just our judicial responsibility to make sure that every decision that we make is not for self, it's for the greater good and the greater we of our town. I've had some really, really good mentors and women to lean on between Adrian and my mom, who both obviously served on the board before. So I feel like I have a really good handle on being open-minded and making decisions that are best for the town, leaving my feelings about whether or not it's something I would want to decide.
I'm just gonna be a really short, simple answer. I've been in the town 12 years, and the direction that the board financially has been going the last 12 years, I think is a great direction, and I would like to continue that direction. I don't want to go back to where we were before Troy started helping us get grants and get good money opportunities for growth and spending. I'd like to continue down this path we're on.
Thank you all. Any other questions out there?
I have a question.
Yes,
I want to know, my name's Dave Osway, I'm the town resident. I want to know what the duties and responsibilities of trustee and whether those things are written down or online somewhere so someone can, just to the point that you made, Mayor, that the responsibilities of the trustee.
Are you asking everybody or one person in particular?
Well, I one person can answer it, that's fine. Are these duties and responsibilities in writing?
Yes. They're in the code book. They're in the, in the book, and I can send you a link later, or any one of them can likely send you a link later to that.
You know, we're a town manager system. We have a town manager who runs the day-to-day operations of the town. And he oversees all the personnel in the town. We as a board hire, fire the mayor and the town clerk. That's our, I say hire and fire. I don't want you all to get nervous.
You're not going anywhere.
I'm not planning anything, but we are responsible for that. So in essence, the town manager and town clerk are answerable to the board. They run the day-to-day operations of the town. We oversee the budget. We approve any spending. We set a budget for the town every year. We oversee the spending. Any spending comes through us. We approve it. Beyond that, the mayor is somewhat the, I guess you'd say, chief executive of the town. He oversees the board meetings, and the board members, like I said, they vote, they set the budget, they decide how things are to be spent, what projects. We set forth projects in the town that we want to see done in the year in our budget, and we oversee the spending on that.
Perfect.
I had a follow-up question. So does the board of trustees set the salaries of the Platteville employees?
As part of the budget, we approve the salaries that are put forth, or we decide what salaries are going to be spent on different jobs.
What role do you have with the police department?
We do not oversee the police department. That's the town manager oversees the chief of police. The chief of police oversees the police department. The only thing, like I said, if I heard it was happening or saw it happening, then a board member or even myself was trying to direct the police department or anything. Our job is, if we have a concern, we go to the town manager, we discuss it with him. We can have meetings with him and the chief of police or whatever, to discuss any concerns or anything like that. But beyond that, it's not our duty to interact directly with any of the town employees. And if we did, or if anybody did, that would be, against the rules,
You
basically.
could be held liable.
Yeah.
So if a citizen had an issue or a concern with the police department, they would not be able to contact a trustee.
They could contact us. That's not out of the realm. But the trustee at that point, his direction should be to take the concerns to the town manager and address it that way.
As mayor, do you consider this town to be a sanctuary city?
We do not.
So you would agree with?
We are not,
County Sheriff?
we've not made no proclamation that we're a sanctuary city.
Something I think, if I may add to that, trustees can't act unilaterally.
Right.
If you bring an issue to the trustee, he can bring it to the board and make a decision as a board, but trustees have no authority outside this room unilaterally.
But the trustee can talk to the town manager, and that's what I would encourage them to do. If they hear of a concern, they should relate it to the town manager. And trustees, like I said, a lot of the problems that we've seen in the past is trustees will decide, hey, one trustee or someone will decide, this is my concern, I'm gonna talk to this trustee, I'm gonna talk to that trustee, we're gonna get together, all of that is not acceptable. Anything that's done as a trustee, or, which I think Steve was getting to, we need to act as a board, not as a group of adversaries working against each other.
As a board in
Everything should be
public.
discussed publicly, and anything that's not discussed publicly between board members, that's, in my opinion, unethical and unacceptable.
Mr. Rankin?
I just want to add to your question, which is very good. And Adrian referred to this in the Platte Municipal Code on our website, under the government tab, is the municipal code. Chapter 2 outlines the roles and responsibilities of myself, the departments, and the board. If you can read that, it's all in writing. And then we also have adopted many years ago an elected officials handbook. So we have an employee handbook that the board approves, that regulates myself and all my staff. The elected officials also have their own handbook that is provided by our insurance carrier. And then last but not least, after every election, we have what's called elected officials training before the first meeting of May. That is open to the public as well. And all new and current board members, including the mayor, are part of that training. So we really focus on roles and responsibilities for everybody.
I can text you a link later, Dave.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
My name's Donna Sewell, and I would like to address you and the two over here. So what is your vision for the growth of Platteville, and how do you proceed, or how do you see it happening?
So every town needs to have some growth, but we have to be responsible with that growth. We can't just overnight expand everything and expect to be successful with it. We have to keep our resources in mind. But we do need to try and get some more small businesses or businesses in town, because
How do you propose to do that?
so I know that there's a couple committees that are working on, like development and stuff. So for me as a trustee, I'm gonna become a very big part of that committee to try and see what we can do to help grow. I mean, it's reaching out to people. I think one of our obstacles that we have is that we don't have the advantage that Johnstown has, where their main street is their main drag. Our main street isn't the main drag going in and out, it's 85. So we need to be able to figure out a way to get these people off of 85 and into town to shop and to want to have a business here. And so it's gonna be working on doing that.
Absolutely. I do firmly believe that we do need some more small businesses and restaurants and other shopping opportunities, but the other thing that goes along with that is we also do need some rooftops. I'm not saying, do we need to add thousands of homes? No, but we do need more rooftops in town, because if we want to continue to attract businesses, well, if a business is looking into moving over here similar to TFP, we don't have anywhere for their employees to live. If we want them to work where they live and, you know, put their money back into the community that they're living in, we need more rooftops. And I know there's a couple of opportunities with land that the town owns that we're exploring into, whether they're, you know, small 1 acre lot parcels. Are we doing a small subdivision? Are we looking at multifamily housing? And that's something that Platteville really does need right now, because we have a stark lack of multifamily housing. You know, some smaller apartments, some things that are more affordable, because we are a small town. We don't have businesses and companies with large salaries short of Occidental over there, where they're just putting money back into town. So the only way I feel like we're going to attract some of these businesses to come to town is we do need a few more rooftops, because a grocery store isn't going to come here if we don't have the body to support it. We've had a grocery store and lost it. We had a grocery store and lost it. We had some small businesses that came in and did pop-ups in town and ultimately weren't able to stay because they just were not getting the foot traffic. So unless we start inviting some more, you know, people who are able to live here, and by doing that, we have to have more rooftops. And continuing, like Missy said, with the downtown revitalization, the events and things downtown that are going to pull people downtown so they can kind of see, oh, we have a new business. Oh, we have a new barbecue restaurant that's really hard to see because it's set back from the road. They try and do a really good job of advertising for themselves, but a lot of people don't know that they're back there because they're set back from the road and you just can't see them. But I think we have to do it in a responsible way. Obviously, we're not going to put in 50, you know, thousands of houses overnight and expect that they're going to be full, because it also is, you know, a tough real estate market right now too. But we've got to attract more people to town, both professionally and residentially. Yes.
We have water for that? Yes.
Yeah, we've got water. And we're actually in the process of exploring more water opportunities. We'll be looking into that a little bit later this year. We've had a couple of different meetings with the NIST project up above Fort Collins, and we're looking into some Winnie Gap opportunities as well.
First, I want to address that there's already plans that have been in play for years that dictate a lot of how the growth will go in town. And we're all set to follow plans that have already been in place for a guideline, at least at the very least. There are hopes that we can grow basically in all directions out of town right now. There's, I guess we could say, irons in the fire that we're trying to be to get growth. But I agree, our ultimate goal is what a lot of people may not like, is to get more households. We need more roofs to get more people to have that driving force for businesses to be incentivized. Another thing I'd like to see is I'd like to support Troy in a project that he's been doing for a very, very long time, in hopes that the town can take control of Main Street itself. And that will allow us a lot more opportunities and a lot more freedom to help the businesses on Main Street. Right now, it's very difficult to get anything to happen on that street because CDOT is in control and may not cooperate with what we want.
They don't, just, they don't.
I'm very familiar with CDOT, and I just, yeah, we'll be political.
You're being friendly, I'm not. Any other questions? Yes.
So I have a follow-up and yeah, sorry, I was gonna go off on the CDOT thing, but yeah, it's interesting. So kind of along the same lines where this has been is, as we're looking at both business growth and population growth being sustainable, I know that in the past, several developers have come in and tried to develop, but didn't want to pay for enough shares of water. They tried to get, you know, real sweetheart deals. And so I'd like to see where all of you stand on that, on allowing developers to donate fewer shares of water than any of us who are residential.
Well, I mean, that's the major concern when it comes to, you brought up the question of water. Water is a precious resource here in Colorado. And if a developer wants to come in here and promise us, oh, we won't use this much water, we're very skeptical. We look at the thing, they need to prove to us what they're gonna do, and we need to be comfortable with it. And that's the reason why one development north of here pulled out because we were not willing to put our current town at risk of not having enough water for the sake of rooftops. And that's still gonna exist, and it has to exist. Because our obligation right now is to the people who live here. That's who have elected us, and that is the people that we're representing. Doesn't matter if I want more houses. It matters what's gonna happen to the people here in this town, currently in this town. You see too much of this in politics where people will look at their own interests or look at a special interest and forget about who they actually represent. And I can tell you from the boards that we have right now, that is the focus of everyone that's on the board right now. And it's the focus of the candidates that are here before you tonight, that they want to represent the people of this town. The reason they're here is because they love Platteville and they want to see Platteville remain what it is, maybe get bigger, hopefully get some more businesses in here. That's what we all want. I mean, I'd love to be able to go to the grocery store here in town. I would love to be able to go buy a cup of coffee on the weekend here in town. Those are the type of things that we want. We understand that right now, businesses look at our town and they say, well, we can't make it. And I understand that. But on the other hand, we're not gonna put at risk the people who live in this community just for the sake of growth. A lot of towns do, and they ends up biting them.
Yeah.
We love it the way it is. We might want it to be a little better, but we're not gonna recklessly grab at that.
I see all of you nodding your head yes, as if you agree with the mayor who's running unopposed. Sorry, Mayor.
Stop talking.
Anything different to add to what he said?
No, I absolutely agree. We've been approached by at least one other builder that has some thoughts on using less water and having to have less shares per household and everything. And it's just not something right now that I think we're not enthusiastically pursuing it. We're allowing them to give us their information and their data and see if it's something that they can prove without a shadow of a doubt they're not, exceeding their water allotment based on what they said they needed. But like Mike said, we would never, ever move forward without knowing that what we already have is already covered. It's not your responsibility as residents to make up for somebody else that we let come into town. And if that means there has to be a metro district for them to create that next subdivision, then that's what it has to be to make sure that our existing residents are absolutely covered.
Anybody else have anything to add to that? Okay, any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
I'm Ronnie Williams. I work for the town, and my question goes along kind of with what you were saying, Mike, about how do we contact and reach the citizens? Because you know as well as I do, when we're out and about mingling with people, we hear all these concerns, all these things. I just like to know what kind of platform or forum can we do to reach out to people to really, because I love it here. I'm here to stay. I came from Thornton. I don't ever want to go back to that again, ever. So I just like the business thing. I really believe something off of 85, like, cause Ron, my husband, goes to work every day and he goes down into Thornton. He says the roustabout is packed with guys getting breakfast burritos and coffee and things like that. I just wonder if we could really look more into that. I get that we're, Main Street's off the drag, but how can we bring more people into town for us, and how can people, what form can they use? I know they can come to board meetings, but people, they don't. But what else, other suggestions do you have that we can reach out to people? I had people come in today and I'm inviting them to come into to the forum tonight, and not one of them knew about the forum. And I'm like, what? And it frustrates me because, and I tell them, if you have a voice and a question, this is your town.
Right.
Come out and you need to speak your mind.
So your question is, how do you reach the citizens?
Yeah, kind of. And the whole business thing.
And
too.
that's really hard because we've had many conversations about that within the board and with the few community members that do come to board meetings. We have the Everbridge system. We have the Platteville app website, and it's an app on its own, and it also will get you to the actual town website. We do have the rec department that does advertise on social media. The town itself does not. I firmly believe, in some shape or form, especially with the younger community, that it may benefit the town to have some type of social media presence. It doesn't have to be one where it allows a lot of back and forth and arguing. You can minimize comments, you can close comments just to get information out there, because I don't want it to be another Nextdoor where it's just
Right.
a place for everybody to, not that everybody complains, but you get a lot of thoughts and opinions on Nextdoor. And I can appreciate the information that's out there, and we've kind of talked about that within our meetings as well, is I could go on Nextdoor tomorrow and post something that I really liked, or I could go to 30 of my friends that live in town and say, you know what, I really want a splash pad. Nobody in this room probably cares about a splash pad, but I get 30 of my friends to write about it on Nextdoor, and I could walk back into the board meeting and be like, look, everybody wants this. And it's not responsible of us to take every single solitary thing that's out there on social media and bring it in here as fact, because we can't source that truth. And so if we see things like, oh yeah, dog park's really piling up with dog poop, I might call Troy, send him an email, send him a text and say, hey, I'm seeing this on Nextdoor. Or somebody says, oh my gosh, there's a big hole in the ground, I almost tripped in it. I might text Troy and say, hey, is there something we can do about that? But when it comes to some of the other complaints on Nextdoor, like the trash company that we had to change to because we didn't have a choice, and some of the other things, that it's just really hard to bring that in. But I do really feel like the town has an opportunity to put a little more information out on social media about these meetings, about other upcoming events that are sponsored by the towns and the committees. I just think that we may need to look into avenues of having someone who's able to monitor those things. And that's really where we have to decide, does the town need another person? Does that person share the responsibility of monitoring social media, being some kind of spokesperson for town if, God forbid, something tragic or devastating happened, to have someone that would be forward facing other than our legal staff that could speak to the community and, you know, and be an outreach that way. But I really think there are some other avenues that we really need to pursue, because we do have the email or the blasts that go out through Everbridge. We have the app, we have the mailers that go out, and you know, all of that information is all of those things. And so the only other thing that I can think of that we could possibly do, because we have such a younger community who, and I'm really bad about it too, I will go 2-3 weeks at a time without checking my mail because all of my bills are online.
Right.
So I may not get that water bill until well after I've paid it and well after something like this happens. And so the younger part of our community that we really want to start drawing into some of these events like Harvest Days and the downtown events on the summer nights, if we're pushing that information out on social media, I think we might have a better opportunity. And if it's one central thing, whereas like on Nextdoor, somebody like, oh, is something coming up? And, you know, somebody from one of the committees will comment, well, then that gets buried. And so it's kind of hard to find all of that information in one central area.
One thing I'd like to say that I thank you for bringing that up, that I'd like to see more of personally. Obviously, there's some limited capacities when board members get involved in a group together. But I would like to see more availability from not just the board members, but other town employees at the town events. Our Christmas events, there's a lot of the presence of the committees and the people on the board. But I feel like some of our summer nights or our harvest days or events like that, I feel like there's a missed opportunity to actually just be in front of people.
I go to all of those.
Yeah, I was at most of them.
Yep, and you're right. That's where you get the word of mouth. Like I said, I work at the front desk and I will come out here and I'll tell people, do you know about this? I'll ask them about the ballot. Do you know? I came out tonight to explain to a lady who's putting her husband in hospice tonight that couldn't come to this meeting, to explain to her what the ballot meant. And I think that's exactly, when I was driving here, I wish I had a bullhorn. So I could go to the neighborhoods,
Right.
really, and tell these people, come on, this is your town.
Right.
Get in here, you have an opinion, and they'll listen.
Anybody
That's a
else
good
have?
point. All of you are here tonight because you're concerned about the town. You want to know what's going on. You want to know who's going to be leading the town. Talk to your neighbors, talk to your friends. Tell them, you know, you may not think this, but tell them they're a good bunch of people. They want to hear from you, you know.
Right.
But, you know, just put the word out that we're, you know, we hold our meetings, you know, 2 times a month, first and third Tuesday. Usually sometimes that gets changed up a little, but encourage them if they have a concern to come here and talk to us, you know, and anytime you're wondering what's going on, pop in. You don't have to stay for the whole boring meeting, but come in. We open it up at the beginning of every meeting for anybody who wants to address us on a concern or matter. You know, you may not think your concern's a big deal, but if you have it, come let us know. We wouldn't address it at that meeting, but it may be something we want to put on a future meeting to discuss. And it may open our eyes up to something that's going on or an issue that we need to consider or talk about. So pass the word. I mean, some of us don't, but we all get up in the morning and we go someplace else to work. You know, that's one of the problems of living in a community like this. We don't work here. Some of us might, but most of us don't. So there's not a lot of opportunity except on the weekends when we're wore out and just want to huddle up at home. But, you know, get the word out. Talk to your neighbors, talk to your friends, tell them, hey, you know, what's going on? And I know for a fact that if you have a concern and you call Troy, he's gonna answer the phone, he's gonna talk to you, you know?
I get excited when I show up.
If you wanna talk to me, you know, get a hold of Troy. Or I live over here, you know, you can go by, you know, get the word out. That's how more people involved, the better decisions are made. So.
Hope or Missy, do you have anything to add?
Well, I'll just say that 16 years ago when we moved into Platteville, I knew it was a small town. And, you know, everybody used to joke, there's nothing in Platteville. Okay, well, watch, there will be. There's a lot more in Platteville than people realize. And if I had, maybe my realtor had given me some type of a welcome book and let me know about the library and the museum and the hours and when the board meetings are and that they're open to the public to come and attend, about the harvest days, you know, every year we do this, and there was so much going on. I had no clue. I had no clue that this was even happening. So I think getting the word out that these events happen, and like I said, brand new people moving in. If they're moving in across the street from you, go over and introduce yourself, you know, hey, welcome to Platteville, this is what we have here. And let them know. Let them know we have different committees. I'm part of the Harvest Days Committee, I'm part of the Christmas Committee, I'm part of the Rec Committee, and I'm the treasurer for the Board of Seniors. So I'm as active and a big a part of the town as I can possibly be, and still get the word out of everything that we're doing. So.
Yeah, I don't know, of any other way that we can get the word out to you guys. I mean, you all are here. You apparently got the word, somehow. I mean, there's so many different ways that, we're letting people know. If you guys have an idea of how we can get the word out to you guys, I mean, it's like Melissa said, it's on Everbridge. I mean, I don't know how many messages I got from Everbridge about this meeting tonight. You know, at least once a day it came. Troy writes a letter in the utility bill. He gives out all that information. That's where I used to get my information before any of the this other stuff came involved. So if you guys have a great idea that we can get more information out to you, we're open to it. But we've got several different ways of getting this information out to you, and I'm really not sure how much more we can do.
I'll piggyback off of yours. The letter that Troy puts in the utility bill. How many people read it?
Right.
It's available online.
That's why you're here.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
I think you made fun of me, but it's like the only person in town who reads it.
It's available online too.
It is available online. So, I mean, I guess we've got to get people to start caring about our little town and where they live and wanting to see it succeed.
People are busy. And it's tough for them to get involved, but if you talk to them and tell them we're a bunch of nice folks, come talk to us.
Thank you.
Nice guys.
Yes, Lucy.
Okay. The local bank is closing. Is there anything that the board and the manager or anything can do to try to convince them that we don't want them to leave? Has there been any, have they approached them in any way? Because we're gonna miss our bank.
Asking each of the trustees this question or one person specifically?
I want to hear from each one of you, please.
We'll start with Melissa.
I actually have no idea because I didn't know the bank was closing until literally 20 minutes ago.
See,
So I don't know if they have reached out or not. But here's the sad part about that. Our senior banking account is at that bank. And I have yet to receive anything in the mail from that bank telling me that they're closing and giving me that warning.
Yeah, well, we, like Melissa said, we all just found out this evening the bank was closing.
You know, it's sad when you see this type of stuff happen, but you gotta understand, we don't have any ability to change it. If the bank was booming and they had a ton of customers coming in and out every day, they would not be considering moving. That's the same with if a grocery store was here in town and they had people coming in and out buying stuff every day, they would exist, they would thrive. We have a situation, just like I said, where people leave town every morning. Most of the people leave town every morning. They stop on their way home from work or this and that, and they buy their stuff. Or just like today, Costco showed up at my house with a delivery. I asked my wife, I said, do they charge us for that? And, you know, those are the type of things that we're facing when it comes to bringing business and keeping business in this town. So what I encourage everybody to do is if you see a business here in town, if you can spend your money here, spend it here. I know it may be a little more expensive, but if you want businesses here, you have to support them. And we all need to, me included.
Melissa.
And I think with banks, unfortunately, it's just gonna start becoming the norm. We are going to start seeing fewer and fewer branches. I've even noticed it with the bank that I use that isn't in town because I had the bank account before I moved back to town. Chase is closing many branches. They've closed at least 2 in Longmont just purely because people are not going inside to bank. If you go to the Chase Bank in Firestone, the front desk with the front tellers where you used to be able to walk in and work someone, you can't do that anymore. You have to go back to where the drive-up banking is because that's the only spot where they have tellers. You can't just walk in and set up an account or anything like that anymore. You have to go online and make an appointment because they can't always guarantee that there's going to be somebody there to help you with that. And I think that's just unfortunately the reality of technology and AI and all of the things that we have. And I think we're just going to continue, unfortunately, to see that with banks. But I think, you know, hopefully whoever owns that land will put it up for offer and we can maybe get some other kind of business in there. If we could get a coffee shop on that corner where it's a little easier to get in and out, that fulfills something else that the town really would like to see. So while it's really sad that that location is moving and that LaSalle, I think is what I heard, is going to be absorbing that between LaSalle and Fort Lupton, that may open up that corner for another opportunity that can bring something to town.
It's a tough one. Honestly, I'm being new to the board. I'm not currently experienced in all the things that the board can do, but I can say that private businesses and government are complete separation, and government has limited, if any, authority of anything. We can ask, we can say please. But I think all we as the board can really do is try to make our town look as appealing to businesses as we can. Try to get the people that spend the money to make businesses want to be here. I think that's unfortunately about our capacity.
I will mention that they called me last week that they were closing on June 2nd. I went down yesterday to speak with them about what opportunities we had to keep them here. It's a corporate decision. They bought out another larger bank chain, and they're gonna take that other bank chain's name because they're well known, especially in the South. And I was told that this branch is closing. All the accounts will be moving to the Evans branch off of 23rd. And most of the employees are looking for jobs other than one, which is unfortunate, which is the hardest part. But I do know we had several accounts. Every Friday I take the bank deposit here down there and chat with the ladies, and then we use the bank in Fort Lupton as well. We have multiple banks, but now I'm bringing it up to the board on April 21st meeting to see what we do with this bank, because this one what. But I did ask Lucy if it would take to keep them, and it's a corporate decision. So if you ask these employees here locally, they stay, but it's not their choice. So.
I have a question for each of you. If you could change one thing about this municipality, what would it be and why? We'll start with Tommy this time.
I'll start with me.
Yes, sir.
That's a really big, tough one. I don't know if there's necessarily one specific thing I would say, but I would like to see more activities in support of some sort for the younger generation, children and teenagers. I'd like to see some way that we can give them positive ways to spend their energy instead of some of the mischievous ways that we have experienced lately.
I can kind of concur with Tommy. I think more so than just the teens and the kids. Obviously, we need to do something for them and have them be more involved, but more things that just bring the community together. More like the summer nights, we're having more of those. We have harvest days. I think if we just add a few more of those community events, mud volleyball sells out every year for harvest days. Have some more of those events throughout the summer where maybe it's a horseshoe and mud volleyball and snow cones there, whatever that looks like. But more opportunities to bring the community together and put the board in front of people and have us be there and have us, working the events and just so we can be out with our constituents and hear what they want and hear what the communities need. Because unfortunately right now, like I was trying to say before, I get really excited when I come into a board meeting and I see community members sitting there, because I hope and I'm feeling that maybe somebody's going to bring something to us. Because the sad reality for us is that 9 times out of 10, the audience is empty. And so I feel like sometimes community members feel like we're just arbitrarily making decisions for the town without getting anybody's input, but we're also not getting any input. So it would be really nice to put us out with the community a little more and give us a few more opportunities to see what the community wants and be involved that way.
Mayor Cowper.
I go back to stuff we've already discussed here tonight. I'd like to see us have a thriving business community here in this town. And we all understand in order to do that, we're gonna have to have some growth. And we would all like to be able to have opportunities for not only places to go here in town, but also maybe jobs to have right here in town where we don't need to travel 20, 30 miles to go to work. Those are the type of things I'd like to see, and we're seeing those opportunities come up. We had a large company come in here, PFP Nutrition, and we have other industrial and businesses that have come in. Now we need to follow that up with having places for those people to live. And we talk about, we've got we've got our town, we want certain types of growth, this or that, but we have to understand that, you know, house right now, a starter house for somebody costs $400,000. I can't imagine what, you know, somebody coming up and getting their first house, they have to go through, the opportunities are just not there. I know we want certain kinds of growth in our mind, but we have to understand that it has to be an affordable community for everyone. If we want our schools to continue to exist, they gotta have kids coming. That means we gotta have young families. Young families have to have someplace they can afford to live. So those are the type of things that I'd like to see happening here, is good growth that's gonna bring not just folks that can spend $700,000-800,000 on a home. I wanna see everybody have an opportunity to move here, to live here, to enjoy what we've enjoyed through here.
Well, I don't want to say, yeah, keeping everything everybody said, but the main objective here is, it is growth. We need more people here in town. I've been here since '87. I loved it when it was just this part of town. I didn't like it when we were building those 2 subdivisions out there, but I understand that if we don't have growth, these other towns are gonna surround us. And then we're not gonna be able to go anywhere. We're gonna stay right where we're at. So I'm not sure how to bring businesses in here, because when businesses do come in, nobody even goes into the door to see how they are, to see what they're about. We had a little vape shop here. I don't even think they were there, 6 months, 9 months. I don't think they're even here a year. We as a community have to support these businesses in order for them to stay. I always shop at that little Mexican grocery store, and I always shop at Dollar General. In fact, I rarely, because they carry everything that I need here, I rarely go into town anymore. So I am trying to support the businesses here in town, but we need the community to do it also. Missy?
Community involvement. I would like to triple our harvest days numbers. I would like to, the rec department has tons of stuff all the time, and 20 to 100 people show up, and that's it. And we post it everywhere, but we just aren't getting the involvement that we would really like to see. So it's just going to be really working hard on getting the word out there even better than more than we already are. But what platform do we use? That's the hardest part. So we're gonna have to come up with something to get that community involvement, because without that community involvement, the growth is not gonna help.
And when we first came to town, Harvest Days was such a big deal, and we had different police agencies coming into our town. It was huge. It was huge for years, and I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened that caused it to be, where nobody cares anymore. This community in the 80s and 90s, the community supported this town.
It was a different community feel.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that, anything against the people here, but there was more community involvement. And I think that was maybe because, maybe there wasn't as much commuting to work back then as there is now, and life was a little bit slower.
Social media, computers,
There was-
video games.
There wasn't, these streaming services where people just sit at home and watch, you got out, you got involved. And, one of the saddest things I saw happen here in Platte, because I was so involved with it for so many years, is we don't have any Boy Scouts or Girl Scouts, any of that kind of stuff anymore. I know we got an active rec department, but some of those things have just, they've gone away and I don't know.
They're bringing back.
So to end on a positive note, we're gonna wrap this up. I'm gonna ask you a question and in one sentence, a swift sentence. If you'll answer each one, please.
hyphens, Mike.
What is your favorite part of town? Missy.
The senior center.
Oh,
The community.
Mayor Calvert.
Sorry, I'm getting a call from the town.
That's Dave, not me.
What is your favorite part of town?
My favorite part of town.
And can't say your house.
I can't say my house.
No.
You know, I think our library and our museum would be. You don't understand, you go to some other towns our size, and they don't have anything near what we have here in Platteville.
Mayor, I apologize. That's more than a
Oh, I'm
sentence.
But I like all of them.
Yeah, Melissa.
Our people, we would not be Platteville without our community.
True story. Tom,
Mine's not park, but the community events.
fabulous. Well, I want to say thank you all for coming. Can we give them a round of applause?
Thank you very much.
I do want to say that I know it's frustrating that there's no involvement, but let me tell you what I've noticed in my new role. I'm very well aware of what other municipalities are facing around us, and there's involvement when people are mad. And when there's no involvement, it's not fun. You want people involved. I completely get that. But it also says that they're not mad at you, which is a good thing. So hold on to the silver linings. Keep trying to get info in front of everybody.
And make everybody mad.
Yeah, we don't have problems in this town, folks. We don't. Trust me, we do not.
I can attest to that. When I was mayor years ago, when I drive into the parking lot and the parking lot was full at a town meeting. I almost
With Anastasia Bolton and. We don't do those things. I know, sometimes we're not always happy, but thanks to the manager and this awesome board, Platteville's sitting good. So we're very blessed here, the staff, administration, and you, Miss Lucy. So I am gonna go over a couple of ballot questions, if you guys are okay with that, and you want to ask questions about the ballot, okay. So question number 1, and I have the language right here. It says, shall the town of Platteville waive the 5.25% property tax limit for the 2026 tax year and all subsequent tax years, and be permitted to retain and spend the full amount of property tax collected as a voter-approved revenue change, without regard to any spending, revenue raising options, or other limitation contained in Article X, Section 20 of the Colorado Constitution or any other law. This is not the only municipality asking this question. Every municipality is going to have to ask this question. This is not asking if you're giving up Tabor. This has nothing to do with that. If you vote no, that means that the state of Colorado will get the excess revenue. If you vote yes, that means the town of Platteville gets to retain that revenue. That's what this means. Is there any questions on that one? Yes, sir.
I disagree. I think we should support Tabor. And I understand the state is required to follow Tabor until they vote it out.
So here's what happened. In 2002, the city Tabor passed in 92. In 2002, all municipalities, not just Platteville, all of them around here, went to the voters and asked to de-Bruce. And that means that if they collect more than what Tabor allows, the citizens voted on whether the town can keep that money and de-Bruce or give that money back as a refund. And the citizens at that time in 2000, I think it was probably 2001, because it went into effect in 2002, voted to de-Bruce. And so there's no Tabor. You get Tabor from the state of Colorado, but not from the city of Platteville or the town of Platteville. So this doesn't change anything to do with Tabor. What this has to do with is the special session that went into effect last year at the state. The state wants to dip their hands in Platteville's jar of tax money. That's where this came from. It came from a bill. What House bill was that, Mr. Rankin?
24B 1001.
That's right, because it was the special session. Yeah. And that's where this tax question came from. Johnstown's asking it this election as well. I believe Eaton is as well. And it's basically the state of Colorado trying to trick people. If you have, this is my opinion only, trying to trick people into taking tax money from the cities.
Since this first came out, I've tried really hard to read legislation about if this goes into effective Platteville, we're capped at 5.25% potentially. Where does that additional money go? And I cannot track it down. Does it say refunds to people? It doesn't really say where it goes. It's so vague. And I've searched hard. And my only thing is it stays with the state. That's all I can, it's the only assumption.
Yeah, it doesn't say if it goes into the general fund. It doesn't say if it goes into the governor's slush fund. It doesn't say any of that. So if you want to keep your tax money local, you vote yes. If you want to give it to the state of Colorado, you vote no. Those are your questions. The second ballot question is an increase in tax. The reason it's worded this way is because Tabor says they have to word it this way. So it basically is asking your permission if they can implement a 1% sales tax increase. I believe that we could prove, the town can prove, that over 75% of the sales tax revenue comes from people who visit town, not you, the people who drive through our town. Buy gas, groceries, Dollar General, Rouseabout, those kind of things, but you get 100% of the benefit. So that's the question. If you would like to spend another penny on every dollar spent in town, vote yes. If not, vote no. Yes, ma'am.
When the ballots came out and I read and reread both of them, and I tried to do some research on the explanation of both of those ballots, I couldn't find anything.
Right.
And there's a lot of people in town that do not understand
Yep.
those ballots, and before election day, I think it needs to be explained to people.
So I can do that. The town board cannot do that. The town government cannot do that. So I can do that. If you'd like, I'm happy to help. But I think it's gonna be us knocking on doors, talking to people to make sure they understand what this is.
Is there any flyer or anything that you can put out there
Yeah.
that people understand?
Yeah, we can do that. We can
Or even on the message, like, explanation
So
of.
they have very strict rules on their ballot questions, and I don't think you can use government funds or government processes to put information out, can you?
Well, when I talked to the town attorney about these ballot questions, she said you can explain, but without enticing votes. So on the newsletter for March, I focused on both those ballot questions. The 1% sales tax and then a little bit on the property tax. And the 1% sales tax, ours is currently 3%. It's one of the lowest in Will County, if not the area. Most places are 4% or higher. And that's why I don't try to shop at Centerra and Loveland, because you have the city tax plus you have what's called a TIF, which is a development tax on top of it. We had a 2%, just a little bit of history, if you will. We had a 2% sales tax up until 2009. In my first year as town manager, I asked the board to do a 1% increase at that time to establish the capital improvement fund. That was approved by 7 or 8 votes. Since that time, it has generated literally millions of dollars and helped fund infrastructure improvements, including repaving Grand Avenue with the sidewalk, Reynolds Avenue, building the senior center, and quite a few other projects. So the reason we're asking for 1 more cent on the dollar, the 4%, is that 1% capital improvement fund is not enough to get what we want to accomplish. Prime example, last year we expanded the Mist Ball Cemetery. It's a $1.2 million project. That took up 100% of that capital improvement fund, every penny. No money left for streets. The 1% capital improvement or the 1% I'm asking the board that the board approved in February to put on the ballot is for primarily, as the ballot question states, economic development, which is our main street and our businesses, and then park improvements. We don't have a rec district. So the first thing, and the board knows this, that if that passes, I'm going to talk to CDOT about taking over Main Street and getting it repaved.
No, we can work offline, but it has to kind of be separate.
And I can't tell you how to vote, but I can tell you.
But we can have Adrian stand here and explain.
Anytime. I want to say thank you to all the candidates. Thank you guys so much for throwing your hat in the ring, right? This is and unless anybody has anything else.
Is this volunteer or are you paid? We're paid. You are paid?
Yeah, we get compensated.
Oh, I was gonna say, if it's volunteer, can you have 4? Cause you're all pretty good.
Wait, how much do you guys get paid? How much do trustees make?
I don't know.
Currently, they will make 300 a month.
Currently, it's $60 a meeting.
$60 a meeting.
Yeah, we're $60 a meeting, so.
Okay, and Mayor?
We do this because we want to do this for you guys.
Right, no, 9 times out of 10, I forget to
Not for the money.
check until it's back to expired. And then I usually try and spend it back in town. I try and go to a restaurant or something here in town with that check.
I want to make the last push for trying to keep a bank here, because now I bank here just like many of
How
you.
about Lucy, we can let everybody else go and you can talk to them after everyone else goes.
Good luck there, baby.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for coming.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
There's nothing. That would be like telling any business. It was.